What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Burgos Report. Today I have two amazing guests, Mr. Trent Bunn and, Zach. So let's get this thing started and on the road. So the first question I have, we're going to start off with the NFL. Should the Chicago Bears get rid of their whole house and organization? Zach, you're a Bears fan. Start them off.
I think they should. Personally, I think that we need a full clean house. If we need to restart everything, I think we can get some great prospects for Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks if we really want to start fresh. Trubisky's a waste. Just drop that project.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of rookies that are standing out. Mooney is doing a good job. Montgomery is still on his rookie contract that's doing well. Tariq Cohen is going to come back next year. Hopefully, at least half the person he was last year.
Yeah.
Because those are some key potential players that can help the offense. But I see us moving in a different direction, and hopefully Ryan Pace is no longer there. After that 2017 draft, I really want to see him gone.
Yeah. Trent?
Well, I'm not a Bears fan, so I really can't give a whole lot of comment on this. But if I did say they need to clean house, I would definitely say they need to clean house, and it needs to start at Soldier Field. Coaching staff,
Yeah.
possibly player personnel. They got a great running back with Montgomery
And Cohen.
and Cohen when he's not hurt. I mean, he did get injured, so you have to take that into consideration for this year. But in order to win in the NFL, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have somebody that leads a team. Even if they're just consistent, they don't have to be great. They can be just consistent and not cost games.
Yeah, for sure. I think me as a Bears fan myself, I think we need to get rid of Pace and Nagy, whether we make it to the playoffs or not this year. We need to get them out of the organization and move on. Mitchell Trubisky needs to get out of here. Nick Foles we're going to be stuck with for a few years, but hopefully we find that good quarterback in either the draft or someone in the league that no one's using that we can take advantage of. But we've tried that before and it really hasn't worked out. Roquan Smith, a guy that Zach didn't mention, he's doing also well on the defensive side. I say we build around that defense, get some decent offensive players, that maybe a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. That would kind of help. We have a great running game, so I think just continue to build on from that.
Well, looking at it this way, Pace has done a okay job on the offensive side, but when it came to defense, he's done really well with people like Eddie Jackson and Roquan Smith.
Yeah, yeah, but offensive, you got to have that. We have a stellar defense when we're healthy.
And Johnson has a chance to rise in the cornerback's position. Hopefully, he can live up to the legends like Peanut Tillman. But only time can tell.
Yep. Yeah, that's really all we got on that. Next point, next question I have for you guys is: are the Dallas Cowboys going to keep Dak Prescott, and what is Jerry Jones going to do with Dak Prescott? Trent, you're a Cowboys fan, so why don't you start this one off?
Well, I don't refer to him as Jerry Jones. I refer to him as the old fart because I can't stand the owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
But that's a different subject in itself.
Yeah.
I don't even think Jerry Jones will be the one making that decision. I think it'll be his son. And I think Dak will probably get maybe a 3-year contract, but it's definitely not going to be the contract that Dak thinks that he deserves because he really hasn't proven that he can win in the playoffs. I mean, you got to prove yourself before you can get that big contract. So he may have to settle for some less money, maybe even less years, just because he did get injured.
Right.
He was having a great season until he got injured, but who knows what the rest of the season would have brought. So I still think he needs to possibly prove himself again for another year. They may franchise tag him, I don't know. But eventually I think that if he can prove himself, that he will get that contract.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm really, really excited to see. I think they should keep Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott obviously works really well in Dallas. You've seen it. And with him getting hurt, which unfortunately that was a horrible injury, but with that injury, you see how much the Cowboys need Dak. And also with the O-line being down, it doesn't help at all. Lots of injuries this year for the Cowboys, so getting Dak back next year should be a great thing, and hopefully they continue to keep that going and pay him at least a decent amount of money. That 3-year contract doesn't sound pretty bad. Zach?
I think they're going to give him a franchise tag again. Not to say that he's not the talent worth the money of those contracts. It's more of the factor that he was injured. He was franchise tagged last year and has the option to be franchise tagged again. And knowing Jerry Jones, if he does make the decision himself, he'll do it again because he wants to try to save money and put that somewhere else rather than in the key person for his own offense,
Right.
which really doesn't make sense to me.
Old fart.
Old fart, as the man, the myth, legend, Trent Bunn says. Next question. Are the Cleveland Browns back? Zach, we'll let you start this one off.
I mean, with them being second in the AFC North, it's hard to say because the two games that they have lost so far have been to their divisional rivals in Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Right.
And Baltimore is known for their high-powered offense with Lamar Jackson and being able to run. And Pittsburgh is known for their high defense and being able to stop people. So if you're unable to do both, what are you going to do in the playoffs?
Right.
Because you need to have some identity of, hey, we're known for a great offense or we're known for a great defense, and that we're able to survive these games because of those things. I don't see that identity just yet in this Browns team. I know their defense is a lot better than it used to be. This offense is starting to click without all the drama that came from the receiver, who I will not name because
OBJ.
There's a lot of other Brown stuff he might like as well.
Oh.
All I can say is they're playing a lot better without him. Jarvin Landry has had a phenomenal year. Kareem Hunt is finally coming out. Nick Chubb is still the beast we all know Nick Chubb to be.
Yep.
And Baker Mayfield is starting to flourish. And I think actually not having OBJ there has allowed for the opportunity for them to actually focus on the rest of the offense.
Trent?
I don't think you can never say a team is truly back until they win a playoff game or more than one.
Yeah.
And the Browns haven't done that yet. I mean, they haven't even made the playoffs in recent years.
Good point.
Last time I watched the Browns in the playoffs, they were playing the Broncos, and John Elway drove downfield, beat them.
Yeah.
So, in order for to say they're back, they got to win a playoff game at least one.
Yeah, I think the Browns could be back. I don't know if they'll be back, but only time will tell. I think they've done a decent job so far building their team up. I think they need to get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. I think he's done no good, and the team has actually done better without Odell. I think we've kind of stated that here, and Zach made the best joke yet, but I think that they need to let him go and let Jarvis do his thing, let Kareem Hunt do his thing, let Baker do it, and they're doing pretty well so far. So,
just a reminder, with Pittsburgh losing 2 games, Cleveland is only a game out.
Yeah, well, that's crazy to think about.
So
if that doesn't wrap up 2020, I really don't know what is. Cleveland Browns being
I'll
decent.
take Big Ben over Baker any day of the week.
Of course. I think a lot of people still would. And that kind of, I had that later down, but let's jump into that. What's going on with Pittsburgh right now? Pittsburgh lost 2 in a row, and I think they just kind of ran into a bump here, and at least it's now rather than in the playoffs.
Well, look at it this way. They played 2 of the top defenses in the NFL.
Right.
So you have Washington, who's on fire on defense. Their offense is still a little stagnant with not having a real quarterback identity,
right,
with Alex Smith battling leg injuries. And then you have Buffalo, who, with Josh Allen, Josh Allen is coming out and having that MVP season,
right,
starting to develop into this elite quarterback status. I don't think he's there just yet, but I think he's going to be blossoming into that.
Slowly but surely.
Pittsburgh hitting some real good teams, whether the records say it or not. Washington has a great defense.
Right.
And that's what keeps them in the game. They may lose the game because of their offense unable to move the ball, but their defense is stellar. Luckily, they were able to do it against Pittsburgh. But with Buffalo is one of those key factors of they may be a dark horse in the playoff run, and you never know if they can make it to the Super Bowl or not.
Yeah, I agree. Trent?
I think that Pittsburgh, their main problem right now is their running game. Connor is he's a good running back, but he's not a great one.
Right.
And if you look at, like we were talking about the Cleveland Browns, they have 2 running backs.
Right.
Most teams that are really good in the regular season and advance through the playoffs have a good running back, and then they have another good running back to back them up. And the Steelers just don't have that right now.
Yeah, and it also, when you're not making catches, when your receivers aren't catching the ball when they're supposed to, when Big Ben, you've seen Big Ben's arm strong. He just had that shoulder surgery over the offseason last year. So, you saw his arm very strong at the beginning of the season, but it's starting to die down now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the rest of the season and how they do in the playoffs. I think they got to fix the run game. Receivers have to make the catches. Maybe Juju Smith-Schuster should stop making TikToks before the game. I don't know. That's kind of been messing them up like all around, so they need to maybe stop doing that, get their head back in the game, and try to fix it before the playoffs come around because, it leads me into my next question here. Who's stopping the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC? Zach, we'll start off with you.
My two big teams right now are going to be Buffalo and Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Tennessee because, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is on pace to win the rushing yards, the most rushing yards of any running back in the league right now.
Right.
And then you have Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is playing lights out.
Yep.
And you also have Stephon Diggs playing lights out
mm-hmm.
from a wide receiver standpoint. Granted, it's just one guy. The rest of that offense is able to get more looks because they have to focus on Diggs.
Right.
Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
For as big as he is, he's like Ben Roethlisberger, but with legs.
Right.
Which is a dangerous thing. That's what you want out of Cam Newton. You wish Cam Newton could have developed into that, but I can actually see that with Josh Allen instead. Yeah. He can take a hit. He can stay in the pocket if he needs to and just launch that ball. Like, dude's got an arm.
No kidding.
But the way to beat the Chiefs is holding that ball for as much time as possible
mm-hmm.
and scoring. And the two teams that I feel like can do that are Buffalo and Tennessee right now.
Trent?
I would have to agree. Buffalo is probably one of the teams, but I'm going to go with a sleeper here. I'm going to say the Indianapolis Colts. The reason I say that, and I know that Chiefs fans hate me saying that because they have a horrible history with the Colts.
Yeah.
When you have that big of a lead and you let a team come back on you and win in your own stadium, that's just something that you can't let happen.
Nope.
That's ancient history, though.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the Colts have a great defense, and I think that would be able to possibly stop the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say right now the Chiefs are starting to kind of show their true colors. Started to play off very hot in the start of the season, played really well. These last few games have been really close to not that very good at teams. I think if you have a good defense and if you can make Patrick Mahomes throw those crazy plays, throw those crazy passes that he usually doesn't, that's going to cost turnovers like we saw last week with 3 turnovers, 2 in the first quarter, which is absurd for Patrick Mahomes. But make those plays and keep on doing what you do best. And I think the big team that I could see making that run is definitely Josh Allen and the Bills. The Bills are starting to warm up at this time right now, and they're starting to finally get their team groove. And Josh Allen is playing phenomenal ball, and he's throwing the ball to Diggs too as well. So you couldn't really ask for anything better. So I'm really excited to see what happens there. Another question we had here is, who is your guys' MVP so far this season? We'll start off with Zach.
My MVP, I'd have to still go with Russell Wilson. Even though he struggled midway through the season, he's starting to bounce back late into the season. I know he had a great game against the Jets because it's the Jets.
The Jets.
But he had a bad loss to New York. He's starting to develop into this style of, hey, let's not get too flashy. Let's just win the game. And that mentality of just pushing yourself to that limit and having receivers like Lockett and DK Metcalf allows you to show that, hey, I can have a possibility for an MVP. When you're someone like Mahomes who has all these options and Tyreek Hill, you've got Hardman, you've got Kelsey, you've got Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell. The team is stacked beyond belief.
Yeah.
The only other person that I would say other than Russell Wilson, and I can't stand saying this because the guy is so cocky, but is Aaron Rodgers because the lack of receivers and what he's able to do is ridiculous.
Yep.
Devontae Adams has been one of the greatest wide receivers I've ever seen, and as a Bears fan, you hate to say that. But my two would have to be those two. I feel like we may be seeing those two actually in the NFC Championship if all their cards play right. Wow. I think the Packers will end up having to play the Rams.
Yeah.
And I think the Packers can get away with it because of Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones is having another great year.
Yeah. No kidding.
With Minnesota being inconsistent, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, and the Saints are going to be surviving. So, Saints fans, be glad if the Vikings don't make it because that might not give your hopes up for the playoffs this year.
Don't worry, they'll get messed up on another ref call somehow. The Saints always happens, so they'll get screwed over yet again in the playoffs. So, My MVP, I hate to say it, but it's Aaron Rodgers for me. Aaron Rodgers has been playing stellar ball. He's been amazing for what he has, and like Zach said, for what he has. Sure, he's got those two weapons, but man, he just makes plays. He extends plays. He's really good at what he does, and he's. I think this year better than Patrick Mahomes. It's either him or Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. And Mahomes is good because he can extend plays and make those amazing plays, but again, he just threw 3 interceptions in one game. Aaron Rodgers has only thrown 4 all season long. So, and he's about to beat his own passing touchdown records in 1 year. So, for me, it's Aaron Rodgers. Trent, who's your MVP?
The easy pick here would be to go with Patrick Mahomes, but like Zach said, he's got all these weapons around him, and I think you could bring in several other quarterbacks in the league, and they could do the same thing with the team that Mahomes has around him. But I'm going to have to go with Derrick Henry because the man is just a beast.
Yeah, that's good.
He's had several 200-yard games with multiple touchdowns, and his offensive line is not the greatest because Tannehill is always getting sacked. But he runs over people like a freight train. So if I had to vote, I'd give it to him.
Yep. All right. And there wasn't many very big games this week, but there were 2 that we wanted to bring up here. Seattle versus Washington. Some big playoff implications here. Who wins this game, Zach?
I'd have to say Seattle. Seattle's got to really push for their playoff hopes to have a home game because right now the Rams are about to play the New York Jets, so it's like a second bye week. So with that factor, Seattle needs to push themselves into, hey, if we really want to win our division, we need to win out. And the only way they're going to win the division is if they win out because LA is right at their heels and they have the advantage over them right now.
Right. Trent, who wins that game?
I would say Washington just because of the way that their defense is playing, but I'm not really sure the health of Alex Smith.
Right.
He had a wrap on his leg on the sideline in the game. And last week he had got cleated. So I'm going to have to go with Seattle just because of Russell Wilson and the experience that he has.
I'm going to be on my island here. I'm going to pick the Redskins. No, the Washington football team because they're really good at what they do, and their defense is amazing. I apologize for anyone that gets offended for me saying Redskins. I've only said that my whole life, but oh well. Washington, I think, wins the game. The next game we have is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New Orleans Saints. Zach, who do you got winning this game?
Well, if Taysom Hill starts the game, I think it's going to be the Chiefs.
Right.
The question that everyone's waiting on is Drew Brees back?
Yeah.
And if Drew Brees is back, will he be the same coming back from those cracked ribs? You have to have Kamara play his best, and you have to have Michael Thomas more effective in this game. You have to have your key players in this game because your defense is not going to be holding the Kansas City Chiefs to under 20 to 30 points.
Yeah. Trent?
I'd have to say probably the Chiefs just because they're used to play. It's going to be a close game, but like Zach said, I don't know the health of Drew Brees and just the way the Chiefs have played in those close games, and they've managed to win them. They've got the experience this year and last year. They were down multiple times last year, and they came back. So all those players have that experience, and I just have to say the Chiefs probably going to win it.
If Drew Brees is back, I think the Saints will probably win this game, but we don't really know about that. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs. Just if Taysom Hill's come out there, I think the Jones and the Chiefs defense will do a really good job. So, yeah, that's really it that we got on the NFL. Now we're going to move to football. Let's start off with the first question here I have is, should Ohio State, and this is college football, by the way, should Ohio State be in the college football playoff? We'll start it off with Zach.
Yes, just because we're talking about the Power 5 conferences and the Big Ten having their representation. This is their only chance of having representation because Northwestern is not going to make it. Ohio State is your biggest odds. Kind of the same way with the ACC, holding back Clemson and Notre Dame from playing their last game just to make sure they're healthy. The Big Ten is going to make sure that they're one team that they know is good this year. Because if they had someone like Michigan or they had someone like Wisconsin pulling out and being undefeated this year, they'd be like, well, maybe Ohio State wouldn't be in it. But the fact that they're the only undefeated team in the Big Ten, they want to give that shot to them.
Trent, what do you think?
I would say yes. The committee always looks to get the best 4 teams in, and if Ohio State's undefeated, they're one of the best 4 teams. You can look at Texas A&M at 6, or are they 5?
They're
Five right
five.
now.
Texas A&M's 5. Cincinnati's what, 8?
Around there, yeah. 8 or
Undefeated,
7, I think.
undefeated, but you got to look at their schedule.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And that's what the committee takes into account when they're
Yep.
looking what teams deserve to be in there. So I think Ohio State will be in if they can beat Northwestern.
And, in my opinion, I'm going to say no here because I feel like the Texas A&Ms, the Cincinnatis, all those guys have been working out since September, working their butts off, playing the whole season. And for Ohio State, maybe if their strength of schedule was a little bit harder, I'd say yes, but they just haven't really played anyone. Through their season, all their maybe kind of tough games really got canceled due to COVID or COVID-related injuries, and that's 2020 for you. So it's going to happen, but in my opinion, I think they should put another team in, but if it happens either way, Ohio State's a good team either way. I just think they haven't, and that's not their fault either, but I think they shouldn't be in there this year. Next question is, we're going to move on to KU football here, is should Les Miles get fired? We'll start off with Trent here, Mr. KU fan.
That's a great question, but I'm going to have to say no. He's got 1 more year left on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
He is this year. COVID affected their games multiple times with many players out. So I don't think we really got a good judge of what the team was.
Mm-hmm.
We lost our best running back, possibly one of the best running backs in the entire nation.
I agree.
And we were playing with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. And I just think that he's got 1 more year left on his contract. KU's gone through too many coaches in the past where they've ended up paying him for 3 or 4 years after they're already gone from school. So I don't think, for one thing, that they can afford to do that.
Right.
And if he doesn't win next year, I think he needs to make a bowl game next year in order to keep his job. But I also think that if he doesn't win next year, that the athletic director is probably going to be gone too, because
See you, my guy.
he hasn't really brought any other coaches into their athletic department that weren't already there before he got there. Les Miles is one of his best friends, so he brought him in. Unfortunately, he hasn't been winning,
Right.
but he does deserve to fulfill his contract and see if he can win next year.
Zach?
I think Les Miles stays for this next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like Trent said, COVID has impacted a lot of sports. It's why Ohio State was only able to play 5 games this year.
Exactly.
I think with the amount of injuries that they had to deal with and the fact that they had their stars and their running backs, and now possibly having other players going into the declared for the draft, it's going to be hard to see what the estimate's going to be.
Right.
We're going to have to wait and see who they are able to get in from this next recruiting class.
Right.
And then hopefully they can bounce back from this. I know Kendricks is a great quarterback that was underappreciated this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniel should have sat this year and should have just watched under him. Had the potential of not losing his confidence early in the year because the way they had been playing.
Right.
Yeah, going all defeated and having that opposite of a perfect season, it takes a toll on the quarterback and it takes a toll on those defense that plays really well for being in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Big 12, they're known for their offenses.
Right.
And KU is one of the few teams that have shown their defense is what's kept them in games. So it's going to be a factor of how many of those players are going to be left on the defense and what new players are going to bring on the offense. And the offensive line, that matter. Maybe get some transfers, try to come over from other schools.
Yeah.
So that way they can secure that offensive line and make sure the quarterback has time to get the ball out.
I agree. I think Les Miles shouldn't get fired this year. I think he should definitely get another year, ride it out. I think Les Miles' guys are just coming in. The guys he just recruited and just wanted on his team are finally getting those opportunities, and hopefully next year we'll see a better KU team. I think they have a chance. Hopefully they win some games, and Les Miles is a great coach, and if it doesn't work out here, it doesn't work out here. He just wasn't the right fit for Kansas, and they'll just have to move on and try to find another coach. And the athletic director, like you said, I think I agree with you 110%, Trent. If this doesn't work, he's got to be gone because, oh, man, basketball, they already had Bill Self, and they'll always have Bill Self. So, those are the two big things, basketball and in football, and you're not doing good in one of them, and you've said you're going to do better, and Les said he's going to do better. It just hasn't happened, so they'll have to move on. Keeping it in the Big 12 this year, a big question was Oklahoma a disappointment this year? We'll start off with Trent.
I don't know if you could say they were a disappointment, because it seems like this happens year in and year out to any team in the Big 12 because they cannibalize each other.
Right.
And Oklahoma's had many years where they've been undefeated and they'll lose a game here or there that cost them being in the playoffs. So I don't think they're a disappointment at all because there are several Big 12 teams that are better this year than they have in years past.
Right. Zach?
No, they're not a disappointment. Rattler had a rugged start to his career in OU.
Yeah, he lost to K-State.
Yeah. But
Bowl game.
he's finishing strong. They're in the Big 12 championship against Iowa State.
Yeah.
And I think if they can win that one, that shows that that wasn't a poor season.
Yeah.
They're still going to make a good bowl game.
Yeah.
They're still going to be shown as one of the greater schools throughout the nation. They're going to
Cotton
be.
Bowl.
They'll probably be in one of the top 10 the next year, knowing them.
Yeah.
Because it's OU. Big 12, whether it's OU or Texas, those are the two big names from there.
Yep.
Used to be Nebraska, but we see what's happened to them since they left.
But I think OU hasn't been a disappointment. They lost early. That's going to happen. You got a freshman quarterback, a redshirt freshman, brand new, coming right out of the gate. And so, he tried his best, and it just took some learning experiences. And sure, you lost to K-State, and sure, you lost to Iowa State. But the K-State loss was really the worst loss of the year. But you move on, and you just keep on learning and playing better and better and better. And now Oklahoma has a chance to redeem one of those losses against Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. Speaking of championship games, we're going to kind of segue right into it. We're going to pick all these games that are basically really important championship games. We'll start off with Ohio State versus Northwestern. I'll start off here. I think Ohio State runs away in this game, and I think Northwestern really has no chance at all. Trent, what do you think?
Absolutely. There's no way Northwestern is even close in this game because Ohio State, with the amount of games they've played, they have much more to prove to the committee. And if they want to get into playoffs, I think they have to blow out Northwestern.
Yep. Zach, what do you think?
I think it'll be a blowout in the first three quarters, and then Ohio State will put in their second team, and Northwestern will score a couple points that is going to make the score look closer than it actually was in the game. But I think it'll be something like 45-21.
Awesome. All three for Ohio State there. Next game, Oklahoma versus Iowa State. Does Iowa State get it done and beat Oklahoma twice? We'll start off with Trent here.
Oklahoma gets their revenge. Rattler is playing much better now than he was in the early part of the season. I just think they get it done.
Yeah.
They're not playing at Iowa State. No, Iowa State travels well with their fans. I'm not exactly sure how many fans will be allowed, but I think Oklahoma gets their revenge.
Zach?
I agree with Trent. I think Oklahoma gets the revenge. Rattler's playing a lot better than when when they first went to Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Purdy is having a great year. I'm not going to deny that. He's definitely going to be a draft pick, I think, in the third or fourth round by a team that is going to look for a backup. I just don't see them putting up the same points that Oklahoma's going to be able to put up since Rattler's been able to settle down and finally fill his role in as the quarterback of that team.
I'm excited for this game. This game's going to be really exciting to watch, really a fun game to watch, and I can't wait for that. But I'm going to be on the island here. I think Iowa State's going to get it done. There's just something about that Iowa State team this year that is just super fun to watch. Their environment as a team, like the coach, everything about that team this year, they're clicking, and I got to keep moving. It's going to be super fun. If Oklahoma wins, I won't be that upset about it. So, we'll have to see what happens, but that's going to be a great game. Next game,
Are you calling Iowa State Purdy?
Yeah,
They're pretty, aren't they? Purdy.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Geez.
Okay, next game is 19th ranked Louisiana Raging Cajuns versus the 13th ranked Coastal Carolina. I'll start this one off. I think Coastal Carolina is going to get it done. Coastal Carolina has had a heck of a season, continue to be undefeated. Hopefully, if they win this game, they get a really decent, good bowl game. So I'm pulling for Coastal Carolina here. Trent, what do you got?
Did the Raging Cajuns play K-State?
No, they played Iowa State.
That was
Iowa
Arkansas State.
Yeah, we lost.
I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina just because they beat KU.
Yeah. Okay. Zach?
I go with Coastal Carolina. I think they have been underappreciated throughout the year.
Yeah.
I think everyone has counted them out when they have been trying to prove everyone on their turquoise field.
Beautiful.
They're trying to be like Boise State.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, there's only two schools I've ever seen do that, and that is both Boise and Coastal.
Yeah.
So I think they'll win this. I think it'll be at least a double-digit win because Coastal is trying to prove to people that they're not just nobodies. They're ready for bigger games.
The UCF.
But like UCF was a couple years ago.
Right.
If they can keep this tenacity, they can be back into the position just like Cincinnati was this year.
Yeah, I agree. Great points. Next game, SEC championship game, Alabama versus Florida. We'll start this one off. Zach, go ahead.
I don't think Florida stands a chance after seeing how they lost to LSU. One is their own composure. When they think they've won the game already, we just saw how one of their cornerbacks threw the shoe of the LSU player, which caused them to get a first down and drive the rest of the way.
It was good, folks. That it was through the post. It was good.
He was a better quarterback than Trask.
Yeah.
But Trask was iffy in that game. He lacked confidence in his own receivers, and whenever it started to actually rise with the fog, they weren't up to the challenge.
Yeah.
And you could tell that LSU felt more confident even than the Gators were in their home field.
Yeah.
And I don't see that being the case when it comes to Bama, because if you don't have the utmost confidence in yourself, there's no way you're going to beat Bama.
Yep. Trent, who do you got?
I'm going to say defense. Alabama has it, and defense wins championships.
Yeah. Well, defense isn't going to win them a championship this year, hopefully. But I'm going to say Alabama.
We'll find out.
Because Alabama's just really good. They're really, really good at what they do this year. It's been super fun to watch them. Alabama defense is really good. But you could also see Florida kind of just, they've been preaching probably last weekend, this week, let's beat Alabama. That's why I think they looked over LSU, because LSU's had such a bad season this year that game just, they weren't thinking about that game. They were already planning ahead for the Alabama game, and we'll see.
That's a good point, but I think them overlooking LSU cost them a chance to be in the playoff.
Exactly.
Even if they beat Alabama.
I agree 110%. Another game, Tulsa versus Cincinnati, really. They're both ranked. Tulsa's 24, Cincinnati's 8, undefeated Cincinnati. I got Cincinnati because Cincinnati's undefeated. Haven't really watched too much of Cincinnati this year, but I think Cincinnati will get it done. Zach?
I think Cincinnati will come away with it because of their offense. They have a little bit more options than Tulsa does, and I don't think Tulsa's defense can handle all the pressure that's going to be brought by that offense and the selection that the quarterback's going to have.
Yeah, I agree. Trent?
I'm going to go with Tulsa because it's in Tulsa, and for that reason, the committee is going to pop a bottle of champagne, and they're not going to have that problem where they're going to have an undefeated team that's not in the Power 5 and is going to claim they want to get into the playoff.
Yeah, and even if Cincinnati wins this game, congratulations, you're going to get a really, really high-ranked opponent. And
if they go undefeated this year, they're going to do what UCF did and declare themselves national champs.
Of course they are. And I guess, they never got to play Bama, but listen, man, if Cincinnati, they played nobody. They've literally played nobody.
You're going to have to look at USC, too.
Yeah.
USC is going to be playing the Pac-12, and they're 5-0.
Yep.
But the Pac-12 is so weak that they don't even have a fighting chance.
Yep.
Compared to, and that's the funny thing was, you have that, and you have Ohio State too.
Yeah. It'll be crazy to see what happens. And then the last game, Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus number 4 Clemson Tigers. Trent, we're gonna have you start it off here. Who wins this game?
Well, I'm going to surprise you guys, and I'm going to go with Notre Dame now.
Whoa.
I think it'll be close, but I think that just based off the first game, the running game that Notre Dame has, I think they can keep the ball away from Clemson, so their offense won't be able to get as many points as they normally do. So I'm going to have to go with Notre Dame in a close game, probably by 3 points.
Yep. Zach?
I am going to be the black sheep in this one and stick with myself and my own beliefs.
Boo!
Coming from a Notre Dame fan.
This man's an Irish fan. He claims to be an Irish fan.
I am a diehard fan. I've watched them when they went 2-10.
Yeah.
I've seen the lows.
Yeah,
I was there for the Bush push and screaming my lungs out, ranting for a flag.
Michigan State field goal, all that stuff.
Everything. I've gone through the tiers. I've had to rewatch Bama beat us badly in the national championship.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I think it's going to be close. I think Notre Dame is closing the gap between these elite top 4 teams. I think they finally deserve these rankings. I don't think they're a number 2 team. I think they're number 4 in the nation. To be honest, they are.
But then we play Alabama.
But what factors into this one is going to be Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence being able to have that ball, it is all going to stand with who's going to be the last one to have the ball.
Yep.
And I think Dabo Swinney is going to get it to where he can get that ball last, drive down the field, and kick a game-winning field goal.
Man, there's just something about this Notre Dame team this year. And I've watched all these recent years, and, we've been good in the past years. We got our butts kicked at Clemson a few years ago. But there's just something about this team this year that looks a little bit different. I feel like the team as a whole, we have a really good defensive side and offensive side. Ian Book can do better at points, but he's been having a decent year extending plays, sometimes extending them a little too far when he should make that smart decision and throw the ball away. But Brian Kelly said that a few years ago when they were going into Clemson, they called themselves the underdog. They used the underdog, and he said that he thought that hurt them. So he said playing Clemson in the regular season this year, he said we're going to win it. We're not underdogs. We're going to win this game. Whatever they don't listen to him, we're going to win it. And he kept on telling them their mindset. And sure, they won in overtime and it was close without Trevor Lawrence, but I think you have to continue to push that. Hey, we beat them once. Clemson has to win this game. We have to shut them down and not let them get in the first time in the college playoffs for a really long time. So I think Notre Dame gets it done. It's going to be a great game to watch. I think they'll lose by 3. I hope everyone gets to watch the game. So hopefully.
Well, Zach will be driving, so that's why he probably picked Clemson.
Oh, goodness. Yeah,
I don't
you're
think
right.
it'll be. If I'm driving, it'll be only for the first half.
I don't really know if Trevor Lawrence will make that much of a difference because actually the quarterback for Clemson, I don't know his name right off the top of my head, the backup.
Yeah.
He threw for 300-plus yards in that game. I don't know how many more
Right.
yards Lawrence can throw for.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, for a little information, when Zach drives, when Notre Dame plays on a road trip, we get demolished. He
Bad
drove
news. Bad
Alabama.
news.
He drove with Clemson. So
So if he calls me on Saturday and he says, I'm still driving, I'm going to be like, well,
we should change our picks. And I might
changing the channel.
I might just curl up into a ball and cry because Zach's the jinx here. But it's going to be a great game.
I'll just park on the side of the road. Watch the game from there.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun to watch. All right, we're going to move over here to NCAA men's basketball. We'll start off with K-State. They lost to Fort Hays State.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah, sure.
For Fort Hays State.
Yeah, it was a great game. There's breaking news. K-State is in the top 25 in Division II basketball, so good for them.
Well, that's because everyone else is losing.
And
Look at Kentucky. Kentucky has lost 5 straight.
For a minute there, I thought you were going to say 6A high school basketball.
I don't even think they could beat Derby at this point. My goodness, barely could beat Campus. You never know. And I'm wearing a KU shirt here, and you guys are like, why are you? Yeah, I'm a K-State fan, supporter, but these guys got me a KU shirt, and they like KU, so I thought I'd support it today. But yeah, K-State is trash, and Bruce Weber's going to get fired. So
I think all K-State fans can rejoice in that.
I think we've been waiting for this for years, and then somehow that same year where every year thinks he's getting fired, he always somehow makes a crazy run in the tournament and keeps his job. So bye-bye. Bye-bye, Weber. It was nice knowing you, my guy.
And Williams comes in.
Yep. It'll be interesting.
Picked last in the Big 12.
Yep. Again, first to worst 2 years in a row. Now you're going to be the worst because you can't really come back after losing to a Division II team. Not even losing by 3 or 4, losing by a lot. And I don't think they had the lead that whole game. So congratulations, Fort Hays State. I know a lot of people that went to Fort Hays State and they're like, go Tigers. But Wildcat fans have to just kind of curl up into a ball and never come out when it comes to basketball until something crazy happens. So that's all we need to talk about them. That's it. They're done. Now on to KU. Trent, just tell me how you think your team's doing so far, and what do you like about it so far?
Well, they're winning the games. They're winning the games.
Mm-hmm.
Their only losses to number 1 team. Their defense was not very good in that game. I mean, they gave up 100 points for the first time in I don't know how many years. But it is the number 1 team.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing with some freshmen. They're really only their experienced guy is Garrett.
Right.
And he's not much of a scorer. He's more of a defense. I mean, he was Defensive Player of the Year last year. So we can't expect him to score. We got to get our big men going. We got to get Lightfoot and McCormick going. And that probably will be the tell for our season as how well it's going to go, as well as our shooting. I mean, we got great shooters. We got Brown, Wilson. I mean, there's too
Everyone
many.
else.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many to name.
Right.
So it's going to just we get better as the season goes on.
Every year.
Bill Self is notorious for that with his teams. So I think by March we'll be fine. We'll be a number 1 seed probably.
Yep.
I'm not so sure if we're going to be able to win the Big 12 per se because there's other teams that are good. I mean, Oklahoma State has the best player in the country, probably the number 1 draft pick overall next year.
Made that last second shot to
beat WSU.
WSU.
So I'm just, we'll just wait and see how it goes. But I know they're going to get better as the season goes along.
Zach?
KU is going to be one of those top contenders
For
the national championship. There's got to be 2 people that step up in the program. You have to have Lightfoot and McCormick step up. They need to be playing at the level that DeSosa was playing last year, other than swinging a chair.
K-State started it.
Oh, goodness gracious. That one's for you, Kendall. I know you'll watch this. That one's for you, Kendall. That one was for you.
But they have the ability to be a great team and a great contender.
Yeah.
Their defense needs to be able to rebound. The last couple of games, they've been out-rebounded by their opponents for offensive rebounds.
Right.
One of the bigger factors is Brown. If Brown can keep a confidence in himself when he's shooting, he is lights out.
Right.
Whenever he starts to lack in that confidence, he starts to just misjudge his shot, try to correct himself, and overcorrects himself.
Yeah.
Lightfoot, it gets overly excited whenever he's out there.
Yeah.
I think if he's able to calm down, he can develop into that big player that can stand in the center position. You have people like Garrett that are just elite for that team. Like you always have at least one star player in KU.
Yeah.
And this year it's got to be Garrett. Garrett needs to take that role, fill in those shoes, and step up for the leaving Devon Dotson and Udoka.
Yeah. I think KU's great. They're always great. I think they'll make the Elite Eight. I don't think they'll win the Big 12 this year, though. I think Baylor will probably get the Big 12, but it doesn't matter. They'll still be a really good team, so it should be really interesting to see what they do. And, yeah, good luck, KU. And we're going to pause. We're just going to wait. We're going to watch this, and then we'll go back to talking.
This is for the game. And for me to beat Andrew in fantasy.
Oh, right down the middle.
He got it.
Ooh!
He got it.
He got it.
2 seconds left.
2 seconds on the freaking clock. Oh, man, Lamar. Hey, where's your mask, Lamar? Where's your mask, Lamar?
And to answer that question from earlier, the Browns aren't back yet.
The Browns aren't back. We just watched.
It's a good game, though.
Yeah,
Great
was a
game.
heck of
Great
a game.
game.
That was a heck of a game. Baker did everything he had to do. Drove the team down, scored the touchdown.
No defense.
The defense on the Browns is just gone. Myles Garrett.
Here's the funny thing.
It's
Oh,
gone
that
on.
was close. Woo!
If you have to ask me, it's gone on both teams. It's 45-42.
Yeah, here's the funny thing, though. If Cleveland loses to Pittsburgh and Baltimore wins out, Baltimore will kick the Cleveland Browns out of the playoffs.
That would suck. Man, Baker did everything he could today.
Baltimore has a chance to kick the Browns out of the playoffs and put themselves in that position.
That is absurd. Wow.
I could give Baker one of those things that he did at KU, but I won't.
Oh, look, Baker looks pretty
Nothing
sad.
was better than Bosa doing that to him.
Oh, well, then he did it the very next year, but
No.
Oh, you mean in the NFL?
NFL.
That was pretty funny to watch, actually. It's over. That game's over. So, all right. Let's talk Wichita State basketball real fast. We'll just talk about Greg Marshall. Too little, too late. Should have been fired a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
that's
sums
really
it
it.
up.
Yeah,
That sums it up.
There's not much more you can say about that. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, sorry about my.
if all the
my
accusations are true,
Goodness
which
gracious.
you got to believe they are, because if Van Vliet's saying it, Baker's saying it, other players are saying
Shaquille
it.
Morris.
The truth lies in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The more people that are saying it, the more likely that it happened.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why WSU, their athletic director, their president, and whoever else was involved. I mean, for all I know, it could have been a Koch brother that was involved in it, because his name's on the building.
Yeah.
He loves Greg Marshall.
He loves
Greg Marshall, man.
Loves him.
As a matter of fact, he may get him another job somewhere else just by
Right.
paying some school to take him.
Exactly.
But he should have been fired a
On
long
the
time
spot.
ago. I mean, I don't know how long the investigation was going on. But yeah, he should have been fired a long time
Yeah,
ago.
it was pretty crazy. He should have been done a long
And
time ago.
the other thing that I don't understand is, why is he getting paid?
Yeah, that's a
He does not deserve to get any of the money that was on his contract, because all the things that he allegedly did, which I have to believe are true, should negate his contract, and he shouldn't get paid. And a lot of the players are upset about that, the fact that he's getting paid still. He's basically getting paid not to coach.
Yep. Getting paid not to coach and getting paid to just sit there and rake in that money and just sit there and do nothing, basically. And so you got to move on, and hopefully, I don't think the Shockers will have the best season this year, but hopefully they find a new coach, because I don't think their interim coach will stay there after this year.
Some advice to Greg Marshall: he might want to get his wife under control as well.
Oh boy, coming, yeah. All right. MLB time, MLB time. The Cleveland Indians changed their name. What do you think on that? Thoughts, Zach?
Progressive Times.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, that's
Progressive Times.
that's just the times that we live in now. I mean,
Cleveland Baseball Club coming your way.
Washington did it. Bill Snyder didn't want to do it. He probably still doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are going to have to change, with their logo, their name. They don't even have a name.
Yeah.
Neither one of them have a name right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they were basically making money off of their brand, and their brand was the names that they had.
Yep.
I know if I was a Washington fan, I'm not going out and buying a Washington football team jersey.
No, because why would you do that? It's a waste of time.
Maybe next year it's going to be, who knows what it's going to be. It's going to be Washington.
The only reason I'd do it is because Alex Smith has that jersey, and he may not even be playing next year. We have no
That
clue.
is true. That is true.
That is the only reason I'd buy a Washington football team jersey is for Alex Smith.
That's a great point. Like I've said multiple times, is
You don't have to love Washington, but you have to love
respect.
Alex Smith.
You have to respect Alex. If anyone else wins comeback player of the year in the NFL, I will never watch another NFL football game ever again, because there's no way.
Geez, you better hope college football's really good then.
It's gonna happen, so I'm good.
That's
but
a bold statement.
listen, they need to. They need to give him comeback player of the
I
year.
agree.
And he deserves every second of it, and he does. But as I was saying before, like the Cleveland Indians, all those people that bought that merch and have that merch for years with Chief Wahoo and then the C alone and all the changes, it's not like they're not going to continue to wear that stuff to the games. So you can change the name. You can it might be the Cleveland Baseball Club for a year, 2 years, but no matter what, you're going to find something, and you'll find that way when it comes on. So.
Well, the fans are going to be the fans, and they're going to still wear their jerseys with the Indians logo.
Exactly.
I mean, Florida State banned the tomahawk chop, but the fans still do the tomahawk
Exactly.
chop. So, I mean, no matter what rules they put in place, the fans still are going to do what they want to do and wear what they want to wear. So,
Great point. All right, we're going to move it on to Chicago Cubs. All of us love the Chicago Cubs and are big Cubs fans. So, first question, big question on the offseason. What the heck are we going to do with Chris Bryant? Papa, Trent, I'm going to start off with you.
as much as it kills me to say this, I think that, a lot of bridges were burned with Chris Bryant.
Right.
When he first had his first contract. The Cubs kept him in minor leagues in order to have the rights to him for another year. He didn't like it. Now the Cubs are going to suffer from that because he's upset with the Cubs.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure what we can get for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen multiple different offers or suggestions of what we could get for him, but I'm not really sure what we can get for him. So
Zach?
I think he's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
I think our best two options for him, even though I would love for him to stay and be a Cub, I think the best option right now is a 50-50 for Arenado from Colorado. I love the way Arenado plays. It's the same style as Chris Bryant, but as much as you'd have as much fun with Arenado, and I think he has a better batting percentage than Bryant did these past 2 years. And then you also have to factor in the fact of the Mets. The Mets have a likely chance of bartering a trade for Bryant. That team is going to be stacked. I'm going to tell you this now. I think they'll win more than 50% of their games this year. I think they'll bounce back, and I think they'll be close to playoff contentions, if not in the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm gonna say my sister wants obviously Chris Bryant to stay in the Cubs organization because she loves his eyes. She loves his eyes so much.
I know somebody who loves his eyes too.
Yeah. Who's that?
Your little sister?
Yeah.
Kira?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
That's who I was saying. My sister loves his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's who he's saying.
But I think.
I'm sorry. I still was fixated. I thought the Browns still had a chance to win.
No,
he was just looking at Singletary right now.
Browns just lost the game, but I think.
What else is new?
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my goodness, man! Shots at the Browns, but I think they need to continue. Hopefully, he can stay. But if he doesn't, we have to move on because we still have a chance. It really depends on what we want to do. My next question about the Cubs is, what do you guys think of Papa Ross's first year? Grandpa Ross, how do you think he did on his first year as a manager for the Chicago Cubs being a COVID year? Trent, we'll start off with you.
I don't really think you can judge him at all on the first year because it really wasn't a true first year. Yeah. What did they play, 60 games?
Yeah, 60.
60 games.
Around there.
No fans.
No fans.
So he's dealing with the fact that there's no fans, and everybody knows that Javi Baez loves to play in front of the fans.
Right.
Plays much better in front of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's other players that feel the same way that Javi does.
Yeah.
So as far as judging Ross on his first year, I mean, I think he did a decent job. I mean, maybe even a great job. I mean, they made the playoffs. Obviously, they didn't do what everybody wanted him to do in the playoffs, but I don't think we can judge anything off of this year just because of the COVID and how the season was short. No fans. The games were just weird.
Yeah, the games were pretty weird, and
I mean, all the cardboard cutouts. You got Fox putting virtual fans in there that would disappear. I mean, it was just weird. It was just a weird season.
It was very weird. I think that the Indians. What?
We're talking about the Cubs.
What? I think that I don't know where that came from.
And they're no longer the Indians, by the way.
Yeah. The Cleveland baseball team. I think that the Cubs. Something about that dugout this year was a little bit different. I liked how it was chill, relaxed, and more just there to have a good time and play football.
I think that's what happened.
Baseball.
Was Papa Ross brought back the fun.
Yeah.
The fun that we saw in the past whenever the Cubs actually made it to the NLCSs. Those three challenges, they were having fun. They were playing like they were in the Little League World Series once again, just being kids, playing the game that they love to play. And you see that in this past year, even though it was a COVID year, they talked about how the opponents saw them as that softball team that would smack on the fences, cheer on their players.
Every time they hit the home run, they did the claps, and they just had a great time.
And it was just the fact of having that atmosphere allows people to play more comfortably and not feel like, oh, I need to take this super serious because, hey, it's just, as we all know, it's just a game.
Right.
It's something that, they get paid millions of dollars to do, and people love to watch them play it. But if you're not having fun in it, then what's the point? Like, if you're just there for the paycheck, then you're really taking the actual spirit of baseball out of it. Because baseball is about having fun. One of the most fun people to watch is Mike Trout. He's on a horrible team sometimes, and yet he is one of the most fun people to watch because of his just energy for the game.
Yeah, him and my guy Bryce Harper. No, I'm kidding.
No, Jesus, Bryce Harper.
I think that really sums it up. You saw the spark come back, and hopefully it stays that way. And hopefully, this year obviously was a COVID year. Even if we won the World Series, I think they'll have a little asterisk by it, and so they'll have to keep on moving on. But another question I did is, overall, how did our boy Theo do before he left us, and where do you think he's going to go next year? Trent, I'll start off with you.
I think Theo. He brought us the World Series. He brought Boston the World Series. I mean, he's probably the greatest GM, president of baseball operations, whatever his title is.
Yeah.
That's ever been in baseball.
Yeah.
He broke two curses, brought World Series, championships to Boston and Chicago.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he got some of the Joe Madden, inside him, and he kind of lost some of his. I don't know what you would call it exactly. His love for the game, maybe, or something.
A little bit.
And he wasn't having as much fun as he had been, in previous years when they were winning. So he wasn't necessarily making the greatest decisions. I mean, he brought some guys in like Brandon Morrow and Chatwood, and they were just complete flops.
Not good.
He's made some bad decisions over the last few years. So I think his decision to resign and move on is probably better for the Cubs. I mean, Jeb Hoyer, he's been with Theo his entire career, basically. So, I mean, he's walked in his footsteps, and he might bring some new life and bring in some new players.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're obviously losing Schwarber. They're probably going to lose Bryant.
No kidding.
And to get back on the point, as far as Ross is concerned, this year is going to be the year when you can judge him, because he's going to have a completely different team than what he had.
Right.
He's losing a bunch of star players. So we'll see.
Zach?
I think Theo Epstein is one of, if not the greatest, one of the greatest presidents to ever set foot in baseball.
Yeah.
The way he's gone through analytics and gone through seeing the statistics of each player and understanding how the method of changing the game, because he has changed the game.
Right.
You now see the shift being played in every club. You're seeing how the statistics of, this guy bats poorly against lefties, let's bring in a lefty. They've had to change rules based off of these analytics and statistics just because of everything of how the game is functioning. You're having pitchers being changed out after every other person because of this. These factors is, with the game changing itself, you just want... I think he's noticed that it's more mechanical than it is more of a traditional fun game.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he felt like he needed to leave. He needs to bring back that joy that he once felt when he saw Boston win, when he saw Chicago win. It's more of, all right, let's get the most analytics that we can out of these people.
Watch Theo go to, Anaheim.
I can definitely see him going to someone like Oakland.
Yeah,
Oakland would be a great team for him to go to bounce back. Actually, one of my favorite teams for him to go to would probably be the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were the last in the World Series in 2001. They've had amazing players, and then they give up on them.
Yeah.
You had Upton, you had Goldschmidt, you have all these wonderful players that Arizona has been known to draft, and yet they give up on them because they're not able to form a solid team. They'll make the playoffs once every 5 years and then get bounced out in the wild card.
Yep.
So I think for him to take a team like Arizona, even though they aren't in the longest drought, if he wants to go for a drought team, go to Cleveland. Because Cleveland now has the longest drought of any team for a World Series.
You can thank the Cubs for that, Cleveland. But
I think another landing spot possibly could be Seattle.
Ooh.
The Mariners would be a good spot.
I'm excited. I think wherever Theo goes, you got to support him, as long as he doesn't go to anywhere crazy like any of our division rivals. But
as long as he doesn't go to... I don't even care if he went to Cincinnati or
just
Pittsburgh.
Milwaukee.
Just not Milwaukee or St. Louis.
Yeah, because, let's not go to those two places. But congratulations for what you did. Hopefully you go break a curse somewhere else, and we're super thankful. One more thing before we wrap this thing up. NBA. Kevin Durant's back, folks, and Kevin Durant does what Kevin Durant does best, plays basketball, and does a decent job at it.
He doesn't do a decent job. He does a great job at it. I watched him in the first preseason game, and he doesn't even look like he's been injured.
Right.
I mean, he's back to he's got a hop in his step. It's just natural to him.
And he loves to play the game. He's happy to be back, and that's something that league needs. I think last year it was all LeBron because he was the only player that was there. Durant was hurt, Curry was hurt. All these guys coming back kind of opens up the league again, like, hey, who's got a chance to win? And all these trades that happen off the offseason, again, opening up the league, and it's just not all the Lakers the whole time. Zach?
I think Katie's going to make a big splash with Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues that is going to come up is Kyrie
Yeah.
and how he's able to handle all the success that Katie's going to get and how much attention he's going to get from bouncing back. Because he, like Trent said, he hasn't missed a step. He's just gone back to what he was doing when he was with Golden State.
Yeah.
And if he can produce with that with the team that he has, they're not going to be an 8th seed. They're going to be in the 1 or 2 seeds.
That'd be awesome.
East, and it's going to be fun watching him play against the Greek Freak.
Yeah.
Giannis is a great player. I think
Antetokounmpo.
I think he's deserved his 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
But I think LeBron is trying to get his next MVP this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think KD's going to try to prove himself. I think KD is going to be one of the top 3 people to try to win MVP this year.
I think Steph has a big chance to come back, and he did lose
Klay Thompson,
which was huge. But I think when Steph's back, and it's fun to watch Curry play in a league and do a great job with the Warriors.
I mean, after seeing how OKC has traded Kelly Oubre over to the Golden State Warriors, that isn't the same as Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly Oubre is a great player, but he's no Klay Thompson.
Exactly.
But I still think that team's going to be formidable. I think they're going to be in the top 4 or 5 seed in the West, and that's a hard conference to play in. But I still think the easiest way to get to the finals is going through the East.
Yeah.
And that's not getting easier to say because you have teams like Miami. You have Philadelphia, who's probably going to try to run it back again with the team that they have.
Yeah.
So you have these teams popping up, and hopefully maybe even the Bulls start making a difference with Billy Donovan.
Hopefully.
But the Thunder, I think, will make a splash. I think they'll be the 8th seed this year.
That'd be nice. Get them back in the playoffs.
They were in the playoffs last year as the 5th seed when no one believed in them. But I think they're going to take a step back because of losing their head coach and how they're having to recycle their team. I think it's not going to be enough for them to tank, but I think it's going to be enough for them to fall into those lower seeds and just make them playoffs.
And we'll finish off the episode.
Suns.
Yep, exactly. We'll finish off the episode with this. Your NBA champion is Zach.
I'm going to go with... I honestly think if Katie doesn't beat them, I think Milwaukee gets over the hump.
Wow. Trent?
I'm going to have to say I think the Clippers this year. I think George has his best playoffs that he's had because he hasn't had any good ones really.
If not, he's going to end up like Dwight Howard.
Yeah. And I think the Clippers.
All right. I'm going to say the Phoenix Suns. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to win the NBA
You don't just have to say that because
championship.
you're in my house.
Nope. Phoenix Suns got this.
Wow.
Devin Booker is amazing.
Phoenix Suns.
DeAndre
Ayton is great as a big man.
Chris Paul is a wonderful point guard.
Only team undefeated in the bubble.
Yep. You're right. They were undefeated in the bubble.
But the issue was, even with them being undefeated, they weren't able to make the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
However, this year they will make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The reason they're going to make the playoffs is because Chris Paul led the Thunder to the playoffs when they were predicted to not make the playoffs, and now he's on the Suns with those other players.
Yep.
So the Suns will make the playoffs.
Phoenix Suns are going to win the whole thing this year. You heard it here, folks. And thank you for watching this hour and 15-minute long podcast. We hope you enjoy. We love you all. Jesus loves you. Peace out.
Phoenix Suns?
Oh my.
Phoenix Suns?
Phoenix Suns.
My Milwaukee
hot take.
Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks have actually the longest shot out of that group.
Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns.